had a question today. I started looking up on YouTube Christian horror. Is it a paradox? Is it even something that can actually exist? Would a Christian be able to scare anyone? I mean, them taking rights away, it scares me. That's for sure. That's, my friend joked about that. I mean, it could be about that, I guess. That one is elected president. But there are Christian horror films, and I saw how terrible that they can be. My idea was, in writing one, I wouldn't mean it in that a Christian would watch or love the movie, because the horror has to be real too. That might be too much. But they might like the characters and the values of the Christian characters in it if I wrote them. Why am I doing this? I'm not a Christian. Not in any way whatsoever. Zero, really. But it seemed like a funny parody idea. If you take a funny kind of Chris Seavery type of idea of messing around with this terrible characters in a cabin getting killed by a gay scarecrow, what would be the opposite of that? It would be a Christian film that's taken somewhat seriously. And that was the idea. 50-50. True Christian characters. I am not making fun of them. They're the real main characters. And then total psychopaths on the other side. But then, in the middle of it all, an actual battle. Jesus versus Satan. But in the middle of it, or at little points, actual horror. Really scary things that are happening. Violent things. Terrifying things. Definitely rated R. The kind of stuff you'd never see in any Christian film. But it made me think that M. Night is kind of close to that. I know he's Hindu, but his films have always seemed like kind of a general audience type of thing most of the time. And I think that's why he wants to still have a PG-13, but push it as much as possible. And you get stuff like Lady in the Water and the joke about nothing's happened, so obviously in this movie we won't see a terrible scary death and then the critic gets killed, but it's still not really that terrible or scary. But then you have The Happening, where people are actually getting ran over. I think that the movie would have had to been rated R. People are just letting animals tear off their limbs. They're getting run over by mowers. They're just jabbing a thing in their head. Because I think he's like, they won't believe that I'm going to do this and I'll get away with it. And I think that's really the key, is to keep things seemingly soft, that it probably won't go too crazy, and then to go a little further than they ever would have thought. It's my idea to do it. Because the other way it's not going to scare anybody. Horror people are not going to watch your movie. And if horror people don't watch your movie, what do you got? And if Christians even hate your Christian movie, So I don't want to fail. I don't want to fail like that. I want it to be so good that even the Christians are curious. If they watch Jesus getting beat to hell, they love that stuff. They like a little blood and violence. Yeah, I think they do. Okay, well, those are my thoughts on. It's gonna be called Blood Raspberry Lake. And if you know, you know.